All right, so we got a recap. Game 7, Golden State pulls it out again. They win 96 to OKC 88. You definitely got to give hats off to them. I figured they were going to win this game. I think it was just too much mentally to overcome for OKC. I mean, though they came out, winning the first couple quarters and anything like that. But I think Golden State was just kind of just hanging around. The OKC really never got up real big on them. I think if they could have got up big, it would have been a different story. But you definitely got to give hats off to the Warriors. I mean, obviously, Steve Kerr probably said something like, "Do you want to be remembered as one of the greatest teams to ever fail in history?" And that's what they're going to be. That's what they were going to be remembered for had they lost to OKC. So that's not something that they definitely wanted to be at. And they just showed the true adversity of a champion. That's when you really see how great a team is. It was what only two other teams have ever done that before. I think with them winning the next two games, that propelled them to have the momentum going into Game 3, and it still carried over. I think Klay Thompson, pretty much just shot lights out in Game 6. I mean, everything was just hitting. The man just couldn't miss. I remember playing basketball. Pick up basketball, and a couple of times, when you feel everything is going in, you just shoot it and it just goes in. I remember like even playing games from like points like 1 and 2 points, and 1-pointers and 2-pointers. And I mean, I remember playing on the playground, and I mean, a couple of days, sometimes like I just hit everything that was going up, and I mean, I was just shooting, it was just going in, you just feel it, you know. I think the game kind of got away from them. I think OKC tried to match them for 3-pointers. There was a point, where when you miss a few threes, that there's a point that you should stop shooting them and start attacking the rim. So they kind of tried to match them 3 for 3, and obviously they just couldn't do it. One of the shots, Russell Westbrook rushed it and tried to shoot one of the shots that normally the Golden State Warriors would shoot like that, but they're not used to that. I think their game is more correlated to them going to the basket and making a better game like that. I think if you look at the numbers, so I had broke it down. I used the score app to get all my stats. But looking at it, just in 3-point percentage, whichever team had the best 3-point percentage, that team won. So we go back to Game 1. Golden State Warriors were 11 for 30. They had 37%. OKC was 8 for 17. They had 47%. Game 2, Golden State Warriors won. They had 46%, so they were 13 for 28, and OKC was 7 for 28 for 30%. We look at Game 3, we know OKC won that one. They had 32%. They were 8 for 25, and the Warriors were 31%. They were 10 for 32. So then we look at Game 4. That was the last game that OKC had won. The Warriors were 9 for 30 for 30%. Game 4 with OKC, they were 9 for 26 for 35%. Then we look at Game 5. When the Warriors won that one, they were 43%, 13 for 30. OKC was 9 for 24 for 38%. Game 6, Golden State was 48%. They were 21 for 44. OKC was 3 for 23. They only got 13%. So they missed 23s. I think they have to go to the basket and do more driving. I think that's part of their game plan. I think they kind of got out and tried to, shoot threes. And also, too, you look at Game 7. Again, Golden State with 46%, 17 for 37. And then you have OKC 26%, 7 for 27. So again, those last two nights that the OKC had, they missed 23s. So even like when I used to play basketball, there was a point where the threes weren't going in, and I would shoot maybe a 15-footer, something off the basket, or go to the hole. And you have to understand that and learn when to when not to shoot threes. So also too, I also looked at the stats with the free throw attempts, because I feel like they should have did more as far as going in. So in Game 7, Golden State was +1 in rebounds. They had 4 more offensive rebounds, They had 20 assists, so they both was tied. Golden State was +1 on steals, -1 on blocks, and +4 in turnovers. But if you look at the correlation of the losses and the wins, when OKC game 1, they had 32 foul attempts. They won that game. Game 2, they only had 19 foul shot attempts. They lost that game. Game 3, they had 37 foul attempts. Free throw attempts. They won that game. Game 4, they had 40 foul shot attempts. They won that game. Game 5, they had 24 free throw attempts. They lost that game. Game 6, they had 24 free throw attempts. They lost that game. And then game 7, they only had 17 free throw attempts, and they lost that game. Now, Golden State only had 8 free throw attempts, but I mean, obviously, you know, that's their game. If they would attack the rim more, shoot those inside shots, I think they would have slowed it down. And I mean, definitely, you know, they definitely probably could have pulled this game out. I think it was just too much to overcome. I think, you know, they're growing as a team. I think they need maybe one more piece, you know, maybe one more three-point shooter. Waiters, you know, just has to be more consistent if that be the case. But they can get somebody else that can come in and kind of help them, you know, kind of play. I think that's something that they definitely can do, and they can definitely be a team to contend with. And also, too, in Golden State, they have to play the man. You know, a lot of times they would get back on defense, and they would just get back kind of like to, you know, turn around and almost playing zone. You got to go back and get a man. When you have Curry and Klay Thompson, you know, shooting like that, you got to get back to the man. You got to play suffocating defense, and they didn't really do that, you know, the last few games. You know, I think they kind of were just complacent and content with the fact that they had them up 3-1, like Golden State was just going to lay down, and it didn't happen like that. It's probably going to be a lot of talk about the about Green not being suspended, because had he been suspended, it probably would have been a different outcome. You know, he would have sat out the whole game, you know, so he would have had, you know, to kind of get back in the groove of things, or whatever. But obviously, you know, it didn't affect him. So, I mean, if he would have been suspended, you know, OKC probably would have went on and won, because he wouldn't have played that other game, and he probably would have had a subpar game, you know, going into that and being out, you know, just sitting there to think about what he did or anything like that. So, definitely going to see what happens with Golden State, you know, when they play the Cavs. You know, everybody's healthy again, so they're still playing. So everybody's going to see, you know, the rematch of what everybody wanted it to be. You know, their big three against their big three. So it definitely be, you know, see what it's going to. You definitely got to look at Golden State. They have the home court advantage. So I look forward to seeing game 1 Thursday. And so we'll see who will respond, either the King or the MVP. All right.